Hi, I'm Trent Musho, and this is the Brew Show. Today we're brewing up a Hibiscus Saison. I'm a photographer and videographer, and I've been homebrewing for 7 years. I love to brew seasonally, and for summer I wanted something refreshing to sip on. I put together this easy recipe for a Pink Lemonade Hibiscus Saison. It's lemony, slightly tart, and it's very easy to drink. As you'll see here, I brew with an all-grain brew-in-a-bag system, which means you're basically making a big batch of malt tea. This recipe will make you 5.5 gallons of beer. To start, I heat up 7 gallons of water to 158 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, I add my water adjustments. I add 1 gram of calcium chloride, a half gram of Epsom salt, and 4.5 grams of gypsum. By adding these ingredients, it will help ensure we have a flavorful and tasty beer. I will now add the grain bag and the grains. For the malts, I'll be using 91% Pilsner Malt, 5% Flaked Wheat for added body and head retention, and 4% corn sugar or Dextrose to boost the alcohol. When the grains are soaking in the hot water, it's called a mash, and mashing at different temperatures affects how much fermentable sugars are available for the yeast to convert into alcohol. For this beer, I am mashing at 152 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. I turn the burner off and will occasionally stir to try and keep it around 152, but don't worry if it drops a few degrees. After the 45 minutes, I remove the grain bag and squeeze out any excess liquid. I dump these spent grains into a bucket and later use them in my compost. I will then turn up the heat and bring the wort to a boil. I plan to boil for only 30 minutes. Once boiling, I add the first addition of hops, 1 ounce of bittering hops called Magnum. I also add the corn sugar at this point, about 8 ounces for this recipe. When there are only 15 minutes left in the boil, I add a wort flock tablet and the wort chiller. The wort flock helps with beer clarity, and by adding the wort chiller while the liquid is boiling, it sanitizes it. A wort chiller is not necessary, but it makes cooling the wort faster. I will turn that on at the end of the boil. So, let's talk about the specialty ingredient in this recipe, hibiscus. The petals of the hibiscus flower are packed with nutrients and antioxidant, but today, we're just focusing on flavor. To me, it has a plum and lemon flavor. Most grocery stores have this, but you might also see it in tea bags. Have you guys ever tried hibiscus before? Maybe a hibiscus tea or an agua fresca? Let me know in the comments. When there is 5 minutes left in the boil, I add 2 ounces of dried hibiscus flowers. At the end of the boil, I add the final hop addition, 1 ounce of Lemondrop hops, to accentuate the lemony flavor that the hibiscus flower has. Now I turn on the wort chiller to help cool down the beer. I use ice packs to cool things down faster, and once it gets cool, I begin circulating the water as to not waste as much. Once the wort has reached about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, I transfer it into a carboy. If you don't have a carboy, you can use a food grade safe bucket. That's how I got started, and they're probably the lowest cost option. Using a refractometer or a hydrometer, I took the original gravity reading. In this case, it was 1.045. It's important to take this measurement so we know how many available sugars there are for the yeast to consume. It will also help us calculate alcohol percentage when the fermentation is complete. Next, I add the yeast. I chose a package of wyeast 3711 French Saison. The yeast plays an important factor in the overall taste of the beer, and this Saison strain will add some nice, spicy, fruity notes to the beer. I give the carboy a good shake to get everything mixed together and incorporate some oxygen, which at this stage of the game is a good thing. Once the beer has fermented, it's important to limit oxygen exposure as much as possible. Finally, I put the top on and cover it with foil. Typically, I would use an airlock, but since this yeast strain is pressure sensitive, I cover it with foil. As long as nothing can fall inside and the carbon dioxide can escape, we are good to go. You'll need to set that in a cool, dark area, preferably around 65 degrees, for 5 to 7 days until it has reached its final gravity of 1.003. It's important to keep the temperature stable in the first few days to prevent off flavors. After about 7 days, the gravity read 1.003, which means this one clocks in at 5.5% alcohol. We officially have beer. And look at that color. I began the transfer of the now beer into a keg. If you don't have a keg, you could bottle the beer at this point. When I started brewing, I bottled everything, and once I had saved up, I purchased a kegging system. Bottling is definitely less expensive, but it's more labor intensive. Kegging is easy, and means I can drink my beer even quicker. Once it's kegged, I set the pressure to 14 psi, and after about 1 week, it was ready to drink. Wow, look at that beautiful slightly pink color. If you wanted to achieve a more vibrant pink color, you could brew a batch of hibiscus tea and add it to the carboy or the keg. I get a slight floral lemony scent. This is probably from the Lemondrop hops I added. The immediate flavor I get is lemon and tartness, with just a touch of hibiscus flavor. If you wanted more hibiscus flavor, you could just punch that up with more flowers in the boil. Overall, this is a fantastic sipper for a hot summer day. Not too hard to make, and I can't wait to brew this one again. If you have any questions about this recipe or any brewing processes in general, let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them.